Imagine a cool fall evening on a Friday night just after sunset. The place looks clearly abandoned and lonely. An old, wrought iron fence left hanging open. Long, winding driveway surrounded by lawns that someone has clearly neglected. Huge house at the end of the driveway, well away from the street and any other houses in the area. Secluded. Spooky even. A panel van winds down the driveway, painted a cheerful blue with yellow hand-painted lettering declaring it belonged to the ghost investigators. It stops, and a couple of teenagers get out along with a medium-sized white dog that acts as the group's mascot. Paranormal investigators. Just a couple of young, naive kids trying to do some good. Their group is pretty eclectic looking. Leading the pack is a big, pretty boy jock. Beside him is a blonde girl who looks like she'd fit in with the cheerleaders in any high school in America. A mousy, nerdy-looking boy with glasses pulls out a set of lockpicks as they head toward the front door, and rounding out the group is a hippie-looking girl wearing a tie-dye ankle-length skirt, being followed closely by the dog. The dog is what upset me most. He was a light brown color, probably about 40 pounds, and had a prosthetic front leg that looked like it was very comfortable using. I'm not sure about the breed. Probably some mix of retriever terrier. The dog was well-mannered. They didn't need to keep it on a leash. It just happily followed the dopey group, ready to take on anything and everything that might threaten its family. When they went to pick the lock on the door, it wasn't even locked. Like some cliched cartoon, the front door of the mansion easily swung open, and the group found themselves in a dusty giant foyer lined with hand-painted pictures of people who were long dead. A giant staircase leading to the second floor, and a building full of cliched antiques that no sane person would put in their homes. If all of this sounds too good to be true, of course it was. If you ever stumble across something that sounds like it's straight out of a bad writing trope like this, assume someone's trying to kill you. Because in this case, that's exactly what was happening. The kids couldn't see us, but I was one of the psychopomps there. One of the ferrymen here to collect ghosts when all of it was over. I was mad about it too. I work with the ghosts of technology because I don't like dealing with mortal deaths if I can help it. Normally, I would be sent to collect the ghosts of old stereos and computers, but today I was sent to collect something pretty unique. A high-tech prosthetic leg designed for use by a dog. I was still hoping that only the leg would be hurt. The dog could always get another. But the fact that I wasn't the only spirit there meant to pick up a ghost was not a good sign. Multiple psychopomps usually mean multiple deaths. It wasn't actually time to collect anything yet though, so while the other spirits followed the group around and waited for the inevitable to finally happen, I set to exploring. The main floors were more of the same. Luxurious but neglected bedrooms, dusty sitting rooms, a library. Heck, they even had a hallway filled with full suits of medieval armor. I couldn't find the stairs to the basement, but being a spirit without corporeal body means you can just float through walls if you want. The basement filled in the gaps of the story. The house was a trap set by a group of occultists looking to lure in human sacrifices. I found 2 separate rooms filled with ritual knives and robes, then another filled with preserved body parts that radiated necromantic energies, and another small library, this one filled with books written in Latin, or ones bound in what looked like human skin. And of course, I found a storage room that was filled with large clay statues and covered with occult runes. Someone was trying to make golems. Finally, I found them. There were about 6 occultists in total, split between 2 rooms. The first 4 were in a strange antechamber, chanting around a large pedestal that I guessed was used for human sacrifice. I could only grimace at that and move on. The other 2 were in the next room. It was set up to monitor a huge number of hidden security cameras that were hidden throughout the main floors. It was impressive really, if it wasn't for the fact that it was set up as a trap to lure in people for the cult to kill. As a rule, we psychopomps try not to interfere with death, mostly out of professional courtesy. Everyone and everything dies eventually. messing with it just tends to put off the inevitable and make more work for your co-workers. But there's no rule against it, and what I overheard the two cultists talking about made me angry. They were planning how to grab the investigators upstairs, and how they had to be careful not to kill them in the process, because they needed them alive for the human sacrifices. But not the dog. They had to kill it right away just in case. They were laughing about it too, which for me was the last straw. A few minutes later, as the cultists headed towards the stairs, I struck, my clay fist catching the first in the stomach before I hit the second with a shoulder tackle, the whole encounter taking only seconds, even if it felt like longer. It felt weird to control the golem, but surprisingly easy. Spirits like me don't actually have corporeal forms, so generally moving matter requires either telekinesis or possession. Both are exhausting, if you are even capable of doing it. Turns out that whatever runes and sigils the occultists put on their golems made them really easy to possess. The cult had accidentally given me a corporeal body, and I was about to make it everyone else's problem. The other 4 cultists came running when they heard the noise, but they ignored the clay golem standing in the corner. I think they expected a squad of humans. The idea that one of their own creations had become animated and ambushed them was too unbelievable, I guess. I was having the time of my non-life. I sucker punched the 3rd, and then easily threw the 4th across the room into the 5th. It felt like they were moving in slow motion. Someone tried to hit me with a crowbar. That actually hurt, but I spun around and sent him flying into a wall. I'm not sure which one that was, honestly. They all kind of looked alike to me. I heard a loud bang and felt the chunk of clay fly off my shoulder. It didn't really hurt, but I was kind of fond of this new body, so it did make me mad. I spun around and charged him in a running tackle, knocking the last of the cultists out cold. I guess the sound of the gunshot caught the attention of the ghost investigators upstairs, but it took them some time to find the hidden entrance to the basement, so I had time to finish tying up the cultists and taking away their weapons so they couldn't hurt the kids. Of course, my co-workers weren't so limited and came flying through the walls right away. I can still hear them asking, "What did you do?" The rest is kind of history. I found out later that the kids called the police and the cultists were all locked up and put in a place the mortals call prison. I don't think I killed any of them. In fact, I hope I didn't, because that would cause even more paperwork for some other poor spirit too. The kids took all the credit for solving the mystery and catching a band of murderers, but I guess when they realized just how dangerous their hobby had become, they decided to quit and open a microbrewery instead. I hope they named it after the dog, but honestly I had my own problems. My co-workers weren't exactly happy with my reasoning that I beat up a bunch of mortals because they laughed about a dog. But I have my limits. It's not like I broke any laws or anything, but I was asked, politely but firmly, to take a vacation for a few years. So, I did. I smuggled out one of the golems in the chaos, and I've been living in the corporeal world ever since. So, that's my story. Saved some lives, beat up a couple of cultists, stole a golem, and got put up on suspension for causing so much paperwork for the other spirits of the underworld. I feel a little bad, I guess, for losing my temper like that, but I would do it again in a heartbeat if it happened again.